That's the whole idea of the group. Is when I started it, is everything was going so negatively and doom and gloom, and I just knew that there was going to be a need for this.
This is the Sales Babble Podcast, episode 351, introducing the Orange Squad, an interview with Dean Petrulakis.
Welcome to Sales Babble, the podcast that shares selling secrets for non-sellers. And now your host, Pat Helmers.
Hello, Sales Babblers. This is Pat Helmers, and today I'd like to make an announcement and share something that's starting brand new this week. In fact, it's officially launching today. This spring, Michelle Kelly, the voice of Habanero Media.
This is a production of Habanero Media.
Yeah, that Michelle Kelly. She's also been a guest, and she did the top 10 books of the year in February. Well, anyway, she introduced me to today's guest, Dean Petrulakis, and he at the time was starting a collective of creatives. These are people that were, for the most part, marketing types. And if you remember back in April and May, Zoom was all the rage for networking. So I agreed to attend, and once I got into the meetings, I certainly didn't feel worthy. Everybody in the group was extremely talented, but for reasons that are beyond me, they seem to like me because I host a podcast, and I help people start business podcasts with Habanero Media. And it has really become quite the collective for creative talent. And we really believe creativity profoundly matters. And after much debate and conversation, we decided to call it the Orange Squad. And the website is being launched today. It is theorangesquad.com. And it's all about being committed to inspire positive energy, not just within the group, but into the greater community of the world. And we're going to be doing that with blog posts and webinars, something we call jam sessions, and of course, a brand new podcast, which will be called The Orange Squad, which is why I'm having Dean here on the podcast. We're going to talk all about the Orange Squad and his experience as a professional seller in the print industry. But before we do that, I just want to do an announcement that Neil Christensen will be joining Sales Babble again next week, the much anticipated top 10 list episode that we always do. I think this is the 7th maybe of that we're having. I'm not too sure. And I always get confused. Is it the list for 2020 or is it going to be the list for the next year, 2021? Anyway, we're going to be gathering around the fire. We won't be gathering around the fireplace here in the Sales Babble studio as we do. Instead, we're going to be social distancing outside in the fire ring, and we're going to be chatting about business, tools, learnings, all the time, drinking some craft beer. I got a brand new Keyser system for kegging beer. It's going to be really awesome. It's a holiday classic. It always runs long, but it's always fun. Don't miss it. And so, with no further ado, let's get to it. Welcome, Dean. Are you ready to babble?
Yes.
Dean, you're my new friend this year. You invited me very kindly to become a member of the Orange Squad, and I was so honored and very happy to do that. What's the Orange Squad?
Yes, first of all, it was great to meet you this year, and our mutual friend Michelle Kelly connected us, and I'm so glad she did. It's been awesome getting to know you this year. But yeah, Orange Squad is, as you know, a fantastic group of individuals who we all came together organically. I came to my network and brought some people together in the height of the beginning of COVID, when things were all kind of going crazy. And I wanted to get a group of people together to form what we ended up forming here is a collective of people who are centered around giving and passion and creativity and building community. And that's what we're doing. We are, the Orange Squad is going to build a community around those central core pillars And we're going to have people join that community, explore creativity, explore passion, and explore things maybe outside of their comfort zone. And I'm thrilled, Pat, as I know you are. I can't wait for it to really get rolling here as we roll into 2021.
We've been meeting for quite a few months, and I always look forward to them. We have weekly calls, and they're fun and they're positive, very upbeat. When a lot of people are kind of down, I love it. Absolutely love it.
Yeah, me too. It's definitely the highlight of the week, rolling into a Friday to have that call, and everyone in the group is so, like you said, energetic, positive, and that's the whole idea of the group. Is when I started it, is everything was going so negatively and doom and gloom, and I just knew that there was going to be a need for this, and it's helped us. It's been our own type of place where we can come together and commiserate, but also get inspired. But we're going to do that now for other people as well, as we turn it outward facing and invite people to join our awesome community.
In fact, it's going to be launching this month, right?
Yes, absolutely. The website is ready to go after a lot of long, hard hours of work, and we're, as you know, we're doing a podcast as well, and more to come, jam sessions, webinars. It's going to be fantastic.
And the central theme is really about creativity.
Yes, it's funny because, you hear the word creativity and people are like, oh, that's not for me. I'm not an artist. I don't know how to draw. I can't write, or, and it's not about that. As you and I have laughed, I work in a creative field myself, but I personally am not what you would call on the surface level a creative artist. I have very little artistic talent, but I'm creative in my own ways. And that's what we want this group to communicate to the world. And we want people to understand is that creativity has many shapes and forms, and we're going to explore that and hopefully bring it out of people where maybe it's dormant, or they were didn't know that they had a creative flair. And as we said, creativity, not just what you think about when you hear the word creative, but in all types of creativity. So we're going to explore that with many different avenues, like I said, through the podcast, through jam sessions, webinars, and with all of our content.
I'm having you on this podcast, Sales Babble, for a twofold reason. I want Sales Babble listeners to know about Orange Squad, and maybe they would go to the website and they might find some value listening to the podcast. But you also are in the space of business development, customer support, upselling, reselling, cross-selling products and services.
Yes. I mean, that when I've been since 1997, Pat. I've been in sales. I work in the print marketing industry, and I've seen the industry go through all kinds of changes. But
oh my goodness, yes,
yeah, as you can imagine, and it's gone through more changes this year with COVID, that's for sure. But it's also been a fun journey because it's an incredibly fun industry. I work with so many cool and creative people. I mean, that's where I get so much inspiration too, as I work with people like, Charisse, who's in our Orange Squad, and Michelle, and other creative talents who bring these awesome projects to me to help them collaborate on. But yes, I've been in sales and I love it. And I know we're going to talk more about it as we go in here, but I'm in, you could call it business development. I have an account team that supports my clients, but my primary focus is to develop new business and to develop those relationships and continue to nurture those clients, obviously. But my main focus that I'm tasked to do is to create new opportunities with new clients, but also new opportunities and expanded opportunities with current clients.
What's the biggest challenge you're facing right now in developing new business and signing new people up?
As it relates to the world we're living in now?
As it relates to growing the revenue at your company?
Yeah. Well, I will tell you the biggest challenge, this year is certainly, with COVID, has been what COVID created in this world of being able to communicate with people, and with people, all businesses turning upside down and people working remotely, and just the discomfort of even reaching out to people in the early months of COVID to even have any kind of conversation around sales, because it felt slimy and it didn't feel right. And I use that as kind of my guide internally with my kind of my moral compass in terms of what was the right thing to do during those early months. So I certainly, like a lot of people, struggled with that in terms of, man, I still have a family to feed and I have a career to take care of here, but nobody wants to hear from me about anything to do with anything other than, how you doing? So that's been the biggest challenge this year. Overall, Pat, I would tell you over the last few years, the biggest challenge is just getting people's attention, especially the decision makers, because people are so, this has been going on for a while, but people are so overworked and understaffed that they're doing the jobs of multiple people, that in order to get their attention for something new, I'm not talking about on a current project. When they have their attention focused on a project, you have their attention. But if I have a new opportunity that I think could be a really big value for a client, getting their attention and getting their focus to try to talk to them and have a discussion about that is challenging, because people are so busy and overwhelmed and dealing with, the next shiny object here or the next meeting here. It's just a big challenge to try to get in a room with someone, or today, get on a Zoom with someone and get their attention if you have a compelling offer to put in front of them or a compelling opportunity to have them want to consider. I find that to be one of the biggest challenges, is just getting someone's undivided attention.
If you think about, there's email spam and social media posts, there's millions of them, there's robocalls, there's all of this noise. What are you doing to stand out so that people become aware of what you're offering?
Right. Well, with current clients, it's like I talked about, it's nurturing those relationships and establishing for years that trust with the clients, so that when they do see my name in their inbox, or when they do see that text or, from me, that it comes across as a valuable message that they want to consider reading. And it's not just, oh, here's Dean again with another, spam message about his next new offering or something. Right. So I take tremendous pride in the amount of time and effort that I put into investing in my relationships. And I do it because I love doing it. I love the people I work with. I'm a curious person. I like to learn about people. I like to understand people, I like to understand about them, and really become as close to them as possible without, it's cheesy to say that all my clients are my friends, but because that's not true. But I do have very, very, very good relationships with my clients. And some of them have become really close friends as a result. But with prospects, Pat, and just being relevant, what I have found as the best way, it's a combination of what we do at LCP, which is our own, email marketing and value-based marketing, whether we're sending out promotional items or value-based emails, content. Combining that with my own efforts on LinkedIn, and you and I are in lockstep on how to use LinkedIn. As I use LinkedIn as a platform to educate and bring value to people. I don't use it as a place to spam people and to sell every single day. I'm there. I'm putting out videos that people find valuable. I share content from events that I might attend. I share articles. I share my own thoughts around topics. And I try to be a valuable resource. And I know it works because people tell me that I stay top of mind between my company's efforts and my efforts, staying top of mind without being intrusive, so that when they are, because people buy on their own terms, this. Today, we've moved from the years gone by where it was buyer beware. Now it's seller beware. The buyer knows everything they want. They know when they want to buy it, all those types of things. And it's our job to be top of mind so that when they're ready to bring you in on an opportunity, they know who they're going to turn to, because you've been there providing value for those months or sometimes a year or 2 years until they're ready to engage with you. So it's a little bit of that. I do 100% honesty and transparency here. I do absolutely no cold calling. I haven't done cold calling for several years. I have had maybe one instance or two at the most where a cold call over my career has worked. I've always relied more on what I've talked about, referrals, LinkedIn, obviously now for sure, is where I get a lot of networking done, attending events. So that's what I try to do.
So let's focus on LinkedIn for a moment. So you post things, and I see you do this. You're posting videos, and you're posting events that you've gone to, or articles that you've written, and people comment on those. How do you convert that into business? How do you convert those if they are relationships? It's kind of more of awareness from the get go. How do you convert that into say a sales call?
Right. I'm very careful about it. My approach is anytime I connect with someone on LinkedIn, I wholeheartedly connect with them and right off the bat want to establish value and establish credibility. So I ask the question right up front, how can I be of value to you? And I'm not asking that in terms of a sales pitch. I really want to know, how can I be of value to you? Some people are looking for someone who can share good information or this, that, or the other thing. So I want to know, how can I, new connection, be of value to you here on LinkedIn? What is it that I can do that you'll find valuable? And then from there, it's, before COVID, and especially for anyone local here in the Chicagoland area, when I connect with someone, and people know this, I tell people on LinkedIn, when I connect with you, I'm not connecting just to have another number on my connection total. Is I like to get to know you. And so I would get together for coffee or lunch with people and then have just a nice discussion. And then from there, it's just organic. If there's an opportunity where right off the bat, we both realize that there's an opportunity for us to work together on something because of my background or their background, then that happens. And sometimes it's just, now that they're in my network, I know that they're going to start seeing my content and hopefully find me of value. And then over time, and I have a story that I can prove this out with, they'll think of me and they'll turn to me for a project. And I can share that story if you want, because it's
I love stories.
yeah. So I have, as you know, I do my video on LinkedIn. I call it a Monday Musing. I've been doing it for 3 years, and it's nothing, very rarely does it have anything to do with my actual job, which is in the print sales space. I talk about customer experience a lot, and I talk about customer service, hits and misses and things like that. But I also talk about things that I just are of importance to me and that I'm passionate about. And I share that on LinkedIn. I also put it out on Instagram, and my network loves it. I get people coming out of the blue telling me, "Hey, I love your videos. Keep doing them." And that's always great. And I had a case this past week where someone else told me how much I impacted them. And that was just one person that I impacted. And to me, that was great. But the story I'm referring to is, I had a client that I hadn't talked to in years. It's a design agency. And out of the blue, he reached out to me on email, because I had my email address on LinkedIn, and I was stunned. I'm like, oh, wow. And it was for a really nice project. And I was like, holy cow. I'm like, this is a big surprise. And I'm always curious. Like I said, I'm like, what brought you to me now after us really not having communicated for, I think it was a good 5 years? I'm like, I'm just curious. And he flat out said, he goes, I love your videos and your content on LinkedIn. It's inspirational. It's positive. And I watch them all the time. And you bring a lot of positivity into my day when I see your videos. And you've stayed top of mind. And I just haven't had many big project opportunities that were a fit for you, but this one is. And I thought of you right away because you're in my mind because of your videos. And I'm like, well, there you go. There's a perfect. And then that's 5 years. So where people, Pat, get, hung up is, if they don't get an immediate ROI on doing something, they abandon it. So my approach has always been the long game. I talk about the generous long game, and I'm in it for the long haul. And, I'm investing in long-term relationships. I'm investing in the value I put out on LinkedIn. And sometimes I don't see results on that with someone for years. I may never, but I'm doing it because I want to do it and because I know it's the right thing to do. And in many cases, it does prove out that people will end up working with me because in their minds, I am someone that they could count on and rely on. So that's an example of how I I work on LinkedIn.
It's almost an act of faith on your part.
It is. It 100% is I do it expecting nothing in return. I really do. I don't put those videos out expecting to get anything other than hopefully people find value in it. I don't do it because I'm expecting, I've got a number of people I want to convert off of that particular video. I'm doing it because I genuinely enjoy the videos and I enjoy sharing my thoughts with people. And yes, I love it that it resonates with people. It makes my day when someone, like the other day, when reached out to me and said, "Hey, your video had a huge impact." And he goes, "Just know that even if you only affected one person today, that you've done your job, and that's all you need to worry about." And it's true. If one person gets value out of it, then that's great.
See, that's the other thing that's in my head when you're talking here, because this has been ruminating lately in my head, is this idea of loving the process. You love the process, that the process in and of itself is more than enough pay.
Yes. And everything I do, Pat, and not just in sales, in fitness, whatever I do, I really do love the process. It's not about the destination. I love the process and the things that happen along that process, the people I meet, the things I learn, whatever it might be. Like I said, the process to me is where it's all at, is the process.
Every so often you bump into these salespeople and they have such a transactional point of view. Everything is just a deal for them.
Yeah.
I just bumped into that just today.
Yeah.
It just troubles me so much, Dean. It just bothers me so much.
Yeah. I mean, you and I both, I think that's why you and I get along so well, is sales. Look, at the end of the day, the companies who employ us, if we work for a company or if we're even selling for ourselves, we have numbers to hit. Sales is the engine of every company. Without sales, there is no business without a good, strong sales engine. So I get it. There's numbers to hit, but I had this talk with someone, good year, maybe even year and a half, 2 years ago now. And the one word that we both just don't like at all is the pipeline. We know everyone has to have a pipeline. You have to have leads in your pipeline. But when you start looking at people like another number in your pipeline and another lead to add to your database, it's just, to me, that's just completely, in my opinion, the wrong way to approach sales. Sales is about connecting with people, and it's about developing relationships and bringing value to people. And I say that, I use that, you hear me say that constantly, value, and it's thrown around like a catchphrase, but that I truly, you've seen enough of my videos and people have, I live by the golden law of my favorite book, The Go-Giver. The number one law of the 5 laws is the law of value, which is your true worth is determined by how much more you give in value than you receive in payment. And that's how I approach everything, with work, with relationships. I want to give more to people than I get back, and do it with nothing expected in return, just because that's what I like to do. And sales, that's what it's all about, is especially when you sell in an industry that I am, that's very competitive, and also where you're not the low price option. And I never would want to be. And I'm sure you've had many guests who are not the low price provider in there. And there's a challenge into itself just being in that space, not the low price provider, but you have to bring so much more value than you take in payment to be able to justify selling at a higher price. And a lot of people don't want to put that work in to do that. They just want it to be easy. It cannot be easy if you want to sell at a higher price. It does not work that way.
No. So if you could give our listeners a piece of advice they could take action on this week, what would that be?
I would say the piece of advice that I would give people for this week, when it comes to my approach on sales, is to just take a look at how you're engaging with your clients and how truly invested are you in your relationships. And are you invested in them simply from a business transactional standpoint? Are you truly investing more of your time and your effort into your clients and your potential clients? And like I said, are you bringing them more value than you're getting back in return? And be honest with yourself when you ask that question, because at the end of the day, the object of what we're doing, I get it. We have to make money. That's why we're doing what we do, in terms of we need to make money to be able to have a living. But if your sole purpose is money first, then it's not going to work for you in sales. I don't know many people that I've met that are long-term successful, who have money as their guiding light to why they do sales. Don't get me wrong, Pat. I am driven, like most good salespeople. I'm driven by the big money deal, and there's a huge adrenaline rush from winning a big contract or winning a big client, and obviously the money that comes with that. I'd be lying if I said that doesn't excite me. But you mentioned the process, which is amazing. I am more excited by the process of how to win that deal and the trust that you have to develop to win that deal or win that client. And for me, that's where it gets me going, is that, wow, I was able to develop that much trust with that person, that they turned over this huge opportunity and entrusted it to us. That gets me going. And the money is obviously the end result. So.
And that's how I've seen a lot of the great sellers are. People that are overly money driven. They might make a lot of money, but they leave a lot of trash behind them in their families and previous clients and previous customers. I've often done this with my reps. I'll ask them, why don't you share a story of a deal that you won or a deal that you lost last year that you thought was interesting? 7 out of 10 times they talk about a deal that was lost.
Yeah.
Because it just gnaws on them and they turn over in their head because they're thinking process. How could I have done things different to win that deal? And what am I going to do next time I bump into that situation? And I find that ever so interesting. It's the process. It's not the result. It's the process.
It is. It totally is. And depending on the industry you're in and what you're selling, sometimes you're selling one big product and you move on and it's a one-time interaction with a client, and then you're selling, another. It could be if you're in software. For me, I happen to be in an industry where it's multiple interactions with clients over and over and over, because there's repetitive purchases, right? Because I'm selling marketing campaigns or, brochures or, web solutions. And so the process is even more important for me because of that, along with my account team, because of the multiple times we interact with our clients, and that customer experience has to be at the highest level. And I obsess over that. And that's why I talk about it so much on LinkedIn, is that we have to make sure that clients feel that they, at the end of the day, when they look back on that project or that opportunity or that campaign with us, that if they paid 10, they would have paid 15 gladly, because they got that much more value. To me, that's, if I can look back on it and say, God, they paid 10, but I don't want them to get $10,000 worth of value. To me, that's just table stakes. They expect to get that. What I want them to get is that 15 worth of value and only pay 10. It's like when you go to a great restaurant and you're like, wow, I just dropped $150, but I would have paid $300 because this was the most amazing experience. Everything from the way I was greeted at the door, to the food, to the way the waiter was, to the ambiance. You know what I'm talking about. It's that, like, yeah. So that's the way I do it, because I happen to have an industry where it's multiple interactions. That experience over and over and over has to be top notch. And that drives me every day, and it drives my account team. So yeah, the process of that experience.
Yeah. If people wanted to reach out and connect with you, what's the best way to do that?
First and foremost, link, especially for this audience, LinkedIn. I love LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn every day. I get notifications on my phone. So I love LinkedIn, and I love having connections there, like I said, and I'd love to have discussions with people and have people become a part of my network and vice versa. So best way to get me is on LinkedIn, and I'll connect with people. And I tell people all the time, when people reach out to connect with me, please, and I know this is something else you and I have talked about, have a reason for the reaching out to connect. Don't use LinkedIn's default mechanism of just hitting connect and then I get the message, I'd like to add you to my LinkedIn network with no context. It's one of my biggest bugaboos, Pat, is put it in context why you're reaching out to me to connect. If it's someone who's listening to this podcast, tell me you heard me on the Sales Babble podcast and I'd love to talk more about sales with you. Or it doesn't take more than a few minutes to put a personal note in that connection.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. But don't write 5 paragraphs. Don't be one of those
either. Yeah, please.
Yeah.
Exactly. There's a balance there, but it gives some context around the connection because I want to know why you're reaching out to connect with me today. At least it gives me some context. And I do the same for people when I reach out. I don't just reach out and say, hey, let's connect. I'm like, I give a reason why I'm asking to connect. I just think it's the right thing to do. But yeah, LinkedIn for sure.
Sounds good. Hey, thanks for babbling here on the pod. I really appreciate it.
Oh, Pat, this was awesome. It's been a long time coming, and go Orange Squad, right?
Go Orange Squad.
Thanks, Pat. This was fun.
Folks, like I said, the orangesquad.com launched today. Please take a moment to go check out the website. There's going to be a lot going on there. It's going to be extremely interesting. It's been very powerful for me. It's really juiced up and revved up my creative spark, and I believe it can for you too. Again, that is the orangesquad.com. And if you want to meet Dean, as he said, Dean Petrulakis is easy peasy to find on LinkedIn. He's on LinkedIn all the time. He does Monday Musings, a little video. They're 2 to 3 minutes long. Really powerful, really great. A fine way to kick off the week. You can find the links to all of this in the show notes at www.salesbabble.com. If you have any questions or comments, don't hesitate to reach out. Click the Babble Me button at the top of the website, and that will send an email directly to me. Love getting input from the listeners. I love giving advice, and especially creative ideas. One of the best ways people hear about Sales Babble is from listener reviews. If you could go on your favorite podcast app, whatever you're using right now to listen, and if you could leave us a 5-star comment, I would really appreciate it, because word of mouth is how the podcast gets spread. That's all we've got for today. Again, don't forget to stop by next week for Neil Christensen. We're going to be giving our top 10 list again. Always fun, always long, always entertaining, and oftentimes useful. So I'm looking forward to sharing that with you next Tuesday. Until then, take care and have a highly successful and a profitable selling day.
Thank you for listening to the Sales Babble podcast. Find us at www.salesbabble.com.
This is a production of Habanero Media.